I'm going to switch it.
Hello. Okay, thank you so much for joining this morning with NENCID. Welcome this NENCID talk program. My name is Vishnu Pandey. I am currently in the role of Vice President of NENCID, which stands for Nepal National Committee on Irrigation and Drainage, and I will be facilitating today's session. NENCID is a national committee for ICID, which stands for International Commission on Irrigation and Drainage. And Nepal has been a member of ICID for more than 50 years already. NENCID is a non-governmental, non-profit organization. ICID is a knowledge-sharing platform so it brings together various stakeholders and multidisciplinary professionals to deliberate on technical, agronomic, socioeconomic, environmental, and managerial complexities for the development, management, and operation of irrigation, drainage, and flood management works. Therefore, in order to share and exchange knowledge and experience among these professionals, NENCID has started this talk program for more than 2 years now. And it also paused for a while after having 25 episodes and restarting again. And today's program is the first program after restarting, and we are very pleased to have our international guest with us to deliver it. Please follow us on our Facebook page for NENCID, and also subscribe NENCID Nepal on YouTube, and you can watch our past episode there. With this, I am very pleased to welcome Dr. Mohsin Hafeez as a speaker for today. He is working with IWMI office in Pakistan since 2019 in various roles, and currently in the role of Director of Strategic Program Water, Food and Ecosystems with IWMI. He is also an adjunct professor with 2 of the universities in China. He has expertise in climate change, hydrology, modeling from field scale to the continental scale, including irrigation command area modeling, basin modeling, and others. You also have expertise in integrated water resource management, remote sensing, water accounting and productivity assessment, water energy predictions, nexus, and water policy. Before joining me in 2019, Dr. Mohsin has worked as an integrated water resource management and modeling expert with prestigious world-class water management and modeling as an integrated water resource management and modeling expert with various world-class research and academic institutions, donor agencies, water utilities, governments, and international consulting companies across 14 countries in different continents. So we are very pleased to learn various perspectives that is bringing from his experience. For example, he worked with the Ricardo Energy and Environment in UK, multiple institutions in Australia, including Australia's government's Bureau of Meteorology and CSIRO Land and Water, among others. He also worked with Center for Development Research, JEF, University of Bonn in Germany, and International Research, Rice Research Institute, IRI, which is one of the CGIAR center. He has published nearly 200 scientific publications in the field of water resource management, agricultural water management, food security, and rural development. So today we have a privilege to listen to him on the topic of the role of irrigation in transforming agriculture in the face of climate change, the experience from the Indus Basin. Dr. Mohsin, the floor is yours. You'll have 25 to 30 minutes to finish the talk. That will be followed by question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Vishnu, for introducing me. It's my pleasure to be here. And if you could just move to the, while we are just updating it as a part of mainly presentation, need to move into this one. Yeah, this one.
I hear you, so we have to actually end गर्नु पर्यो कसरी See? Stop गर्नु। Can we confirm they have seen the slide? Vishnu ji?
Yes. Here you can see it. So here we can see it.
Okay. Is it good?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Dr. Santosh. So today I will be talking about the role of irrigation and transforming the agriculture in the face of climate change. And particularly, my presentation will be into the three parts. First part is about describing the problem facing in the Indus Basin. Second part is about that from the what we are doing it in that context, and third part is important on that one, giving example of one of the project which we are working it. Again, in Pakistan is facing the acute the problems of that one, the climate change. We have 30 days of water storage, and then on the water security is one of the major problem. 90% of water is used for agriculture, and then the water use efficiency and water productivity is very low. And then on the top of that one, the water institutes are very weak, and then all those kind of the poor governance and policy incoherence is creating a lot more problem. And we are having a problem with the neighboring country and the transboundary water conflicts. And then there is a need of water resilience and adaptation to the climate change, which is one of the important factor for the context of Pakistan. And that's where Pakistan needs to do a much more thing. Just here giving the snapshot of the Asian Development Bank Outlook report of the 2020, where they looked around the key dimension of that one, national water security, and into the 5 dimensions. One is on the rural household water security, economic water security, urban water security, and environmental water security, and fifth is on the water-related disaster security. When we are looking around as a part of all that one, it's important that there is a water security. We are comparing the 56 countries across the globe, and IWMI led the activity on the water-related disaster security. When we're looking around the 56 countries of the Asia Pacific, the countries are given on a y-axis, and then there's on showing it whether it's a nascent stage or what kind of stage is that one, and below it's the color code is talking about that one, whether we are talking about the household security or the economic water security or the water related. But Pakistan is unfortunately in the bottom 3, which that means, and especially when we are looking at the disaster related water security, Pakistan is performing worse in the whole Asia, because we have it, our infrastructure has been built a long time ago, but that's not climate resilient. And that's where it's creating a lot more problem, and the government is doing not spending any time on any money on that one, the dealing with the disaster preparedness, but they are doing it whenever disaster happened, then they're spending much more money and on that one. So how we could turn around on those sort of the things there. Now looking around, giving the perspective of that one, again, Pakistan, that one, the ministries are working in silo. So then there is a lack of holistic perspective of water management. Irrigation department is worrying only about silos for irrigation water distribution. Flood ministry, flood department is looking after only in flood, and then the riverine, coastline, and all those things are working in silo. But here we are thinking IWMI as a part of that one is for a whole landscape. With the 30 days of water storage, we need to develop a much more holistic perspective, because this is a part of the whole landscape there. By making an intervention upstream, when we are doing a deforestation or forestation, that has impact on the downstream. Now with the Internet of Things, remote sensing, artificial intelligence, we could make a much more informed decision, and that informed decision will be helpful for improving the water resilience in the context of Pakistan. Again, not going much of the, but we are looking around the climate change is one of the major impact also as a part of that in the context in Pakistan. Here giving the example of the Indus Basin with the versus Ganges and Brahmaputra. Indus Basin is on the left hand side, that's showing it. And again, we are saying it around 65 to 70% of water is used. That the blue hydrograph is showing that water is used for the from snowfall and glacier melt. But when we compare with the Ganges and Brahmaputra, we are saying the other way around, the very less stand on the snowfall and glacier melt. So Indus water is, that's why it's becoming one of the critical tower as a part of that one. And then we are looking around that one, how much is, when is water coming and for what purpose is the water used? Again, we are saying that one, many of the crops, again, that dependent on as a part of the snowfall and glacier melt. And this is the one which is important again, that the work is on melt water, which is coming, it serves as a buffer between the pre-monsoon drought. And then if we don't have that one, the melt water, that will create a much more problem there. We are looking around what will be happening as a part of that one, the climate look like, and then what are the implications. Now looking into that one, this work was carried out by Santosh here, who is sitting also here. Looking around the context of that one, on the top, we are talking about the Indus Basin and what's the how far the meltwater contribution for various crop. Again, we are saying sugarcane crop is heavily dependent on snowfall and glacier melt, the cotton, rice, and then the wheat crop in the Indus. But when we are looking in the context of Ganges, it's only that one, the sugarcane. And here that's showing it, that again on the left hand side, the different snowfall and glacier melt contribution in terms of the snowfall and for the rice, wheat, rice, sugarcane, and cotton. But we are looking around the Ganges and Brahmaputra, it's very less. Only sugarcane is the contribution part of the Ganges. Now looking around in the context of that one in agricultural production, here giving the example of that one, the rice, which is around 15% of the water used in Indus, which is using for rice, snowfall and glacier melt, is producing 19 million tons. And then that's showing it very less productivity of the system. But when we are looking around the sugarcane in the context of Ganges, it's around that one 7% of water, which is using around that 103 million tons of that one. The water contribution is coming as a part of that one. Again, looking around that one, the issues on the productivity and everything in Asia, that one, when we're talking about the Indus Basin, the future irrigation demands that needs, when the glacier will be melting, we need to think about how we could do on that one. So we need to think about that one, how we could improve that one, the water productivity, and also preserving on that one, the augmenting the groundwater, especially when we're talking about the future scenarios and everything. That's quite common all across the seasons. Part of that one. Now looking around that one in the context of that one, the future Indus, more people and more water. That's one thing is quite common, that the in 2050 scenarios, whether we are using on the water, in the water need is much more on that one, and the energy also need much more the water, and then the food is also. So it overall that's showing it that we need to think about that one, what we can do in the particularly water tower like the Indus Basin, which is already critical water tower on the global scale, and especially in the climate change context and everything, how we could deal with that one. We're setting the scene here now, looking around that one, what's happening at the Pakistan level. We have a national water policy, which has the 7 principles: conservation and efficiency, storage, leveraging technology, renewable energy, integrated water source management, comprehensive regulatory framework, and then the planning principle. But hardly there is any implementation. It's a nice policy which is saying everything, but hardly anything on the ground. And here I will be giving few examples of that policy, IWRM, and then some of the other thing, what IMI is doing it, what are the things which we are contributing for the policy to be implementation. This is where here the snapshot is showing that one, the different examples of that one. On the left-hand side, these are the thematic areas. Water scarcity, which is mentioned in the national water policy, also on the climate change policy, food security policy, forest policy, Pakistan water sector, and then the Provincial Water Act. But hardly all that's so nice to have it, but neither any of the policies being implemented. Ministries are working in silos, and also the Provincial Water Act, that's also there's not working it in together. It's everything is nice to have it, but not hardly anything to be implemented. That's where we agreed with the Ministry of Water Sources, the federal level, and as well as the Provincial Irrigation Department, how we could implement one of the National Water Policy, some aspect, and as well as the Provincial Water Act at the Punjab in one of the district, and then where we could implement the policy and provide support for implementation to the government. In the context of Indus Basin, it's quite a contiguous irrigation system. We have 5 rivers which are diverting the water from the top to the down, and then large more water is coming around, and that one around 146 million acre foot. And I will not go through into the details, but it's quite a complex system. But also on the top of that one, we had it around 1.5 million tube wells are being installed. Anybody could install the tube wells at anywhere. Around 60 to 80% of tube wells are serving that one, the water production, the agriculture production on that one. Agriculture using 90% of the surface water, but also the groundwater is around 60 to 80% groundwater is using to make up the irrigated agriculture. For the domestic, it's around 100%. For that one, industry, it's around 90%. Now, anybody, when they could install the pump, what that means that we need to think about that one, what we can do. Even though the policy exists, when any farmers, they want to install the pump, they need to get the permission from the government. But the government don't have a capacity to guide to farmers, whether looking around the aquifer, whether the aquifer is sustainable or not. And here, sharing the example of that one, the groundwater as a looming crisis, it was in late 60s, it was around 3 to 12 meter groundwater. Then the tube well introduced it 30 meter. Now it's around that one to the 300 meter depth, 100 to 300 meter depth, and that's where the whole crisis. So we are facing the crisis in the area, which is like the cat and rat chase. What we can do? So we need to bring a sustainability in the context of Pakistan and in the context of that one. That's where I'm sharing one of the example of the project, which is on a RAP, which is funded by the FCDO, which is on a climate resilient solution for improving water governance. We thought that there is a lot more, many projects are there, and as DG sir, we were talking about how we could bring one of the area where we could implement and say policy could work. It's not a policy failure, but it's the failure of the department and then the technical capacity, how we could develop the evidence-based information and start implementing on the ground. So that has the three components. One, we are looking at the federal level, which we are improving the water governance to support the implementation of national policies, water and climate. Second is on the water within the provinces and how it's shared around the priority usage area to support the implementation of Punjab water. And third is how we could do the capacity building of the federal government and as well as the provincial government to make sure that they could upscale to the other districts with their own financial and everything. Looking around on that one, so we started here sharing some of the example. One of the thing was there was no drought warning system, early drought warning system for Pakistan. So we worked with the federal government and we signed the MOU with them. And now we have developed that one, the drought warning system for the whole Punjab, which we are testing it. And that's also the drought forecasting system in the context of that one. The website is being developed that we are testing it in the pilot district and that for the whole part of Punjab in one of the provinces and make sure that how that could be applied and how that could be using for the crop insurance and also working for the farmers to improve that one, the drought forecasting system, and so they could make a much more informed decision. This is showing one of the snapshot of the one of the district. The other important thing is moving on that one in the provincial level, the Punjab Water Act, that's specifically specifying that water need to be diverted for agriculture, for industry, for domestic, and for environment. But how? There is no accounting of the surface water, groundwater, and rainwater. So first thing we said we need to know the water availability for all those from all those sources. And then in order to do that one, we need to do the water accounting. We need to do it also on a, because the groundwater is hardly any information available. We install all the instrumentation. Third, we need to introduce the irrigation demand, how to conserve the water from agriculture sector. And then fourth is about water allocation system for multiple sector. And fifth is important, the capacity building of the government institute so they could replicate into the other district, into the other irrigation system. So the water accounting, we have applied that one, the IMI's water accounting plus approach, which is standard approach, which is defining how much, what are the water sources, what are the output of that one. So we are going in that one. And in order to that one, we selected on the irrigation district. We did it also on a using digital elevation model, land use, land cover, actual evapotranspiration, satellite base, and also getting it on a rainfall and everything. You have information, what are the input parameters, surface water, and all the sources of that water. Second is also knowing about a land use and land cover, because this is quite a big area. And we want to know about that one, the land use, the land cover, what type of crops are grown. because that sort of information was also not available, because any farmer could install grow any crop and everything. So we did it also for 2 cropping season, Rabi and Kharif, and start monitoring it. And also third is important about the how much water is used by the crops. How much is that actual crop water consumption? So this is based on the satellite. So again, we use this ball model to estimate the actual water consumption, so that we know how much is the crop and what type of water use is there. In order to bring certain instrumentation for validation by the irrigation department, we brought the eddy covariance flux tower, which is the first of the flux tower, which is monitoring water and carbon footprints and also solving the energy balance. So we brought that flux tower as a part of this was the innovation. So we installed in the 2 different kind of the cropping season, and then this is shown in the irrigation system. And also it's monitoring it about that one, the how much is the water consumption, how much is the energy consumption, and how much is the carbon CO2 sequestration from the various type of crops. And that's showing it those kind of fluxes there. Now that's giving us the confidence, whatever the ET we are getting from satellite, it's good enough. But then we don't have any information about a groundwater. So we thought, okay, for the groundwater, we need to have that kind of information. So the first thing what we did it, this is on the left hand side, the map is showing, this is the irrigation district. We looked around the last 20 years of the data and saying which area is more sensitive on the groundwater vulnerability and everything. Typically, there is a piezometer well, which are used for monitoring the groundwater. And the government was not monitoring it on a scientific basis, because the left-hand side, if you see, there was the dot which was installed anywhere for the installation. So we looked around the principal component analysis, and we said that need to be looked around the historical, wherever the groundwater fluctuation is there, and how we could do on that one. So based on the PCA analysis, we installed the CTG diver, which is monitoring the actual groundwater quantity and quality in a real time, so that we could also get that information. Then the next thing is we develop a development of groundwater management system dashboard, also as a part of the system there. And we also monitored how many tube wells are there. Industrial, domestic, agriculture, there are around 47,000 tube wells are there. We geotagged on those tube wells. We monitored about the water element, and everything is solar, diesel, electrical, and also as part of that one. And then we develop a kind of the information system which could be providing the information and also integrated with the surface water system, so that the government will have the information available about surface water, groundwater, and rainwater also as a part of that one. Other important thing on the quality, we also looked around the water quality. So we find out very interesting. The fluoride, we did it around 40 sampling, around that one, 41 water sample, and we said fluoride is 24% of the area. Fluoride is there. Also, the arsenic is there. Also, as a part of that one, there is a TDS is there, and those are the what impacting on the human. That one, the health and everything. So we are monitoring on that one and also getting that kind of information. And then the water quality assessment is being used for decision making, so that we could guide to the government that which area is good for the groundwater, which area is not good. The next thing is about irrigation demand management. And in that one, we want to see the farmers who are doing the monitoring the water, because the farmers are using the water as much as we want to do. One thing is introducing the soil moisture sensors, giving to the farmers. And second thing is using the data mining, artificial intelligence, remote sensing technique to estimate that one, what's the likely forecast of irrigation demand, and then we could work into that sort of system. This is here showing the snapshot of that one. On the left-hand side is about the vegetation health, and on the right-hand side, we are showing about the actual ET, how that ET varies over a period of time over one of the pilot farm, which is owned by the government department, 73 acres of the farm. And here this is showing this Camelon soil moisture sensor, which we have distributed around the 200 farmers there. This is a very simple one. It's telling us about that one. The farmer doesn't need to worry about the size. It's the red is showing that one, the crop is facing that one, the severe water scarcity. You need to irrigate severely. If you will not do it, then that will be the blue is saying that's a plenty of water, and green is showing you are in between on that one. So that kind of indication. On the top is we are using for particular irrigation, and below we are talking about a flood irrigation. So that sort of information we are using for the farmers. And then we develop a kind of the comprehensive system where we are using the artificial intelligence, data mining techniques to estimate the irrigation demand forecasting next 7 days and testing on the farm there as a part of remote sensing. But also as important that we need to take a confidence to the farmers and especially the women farmers. So we are working with the farmers whom we have provided that kind of these soil moisture sensors so that farmers are testing at their month, and many farmers are claiming it. They are able to save one water saving for the production of the wheat crop or other crop there. And these are some of the ones where we are guiding to the farmers as a part of training and everything. Now, the next fourth important thing is on water allocation system. That's all good, but we need to know how much water is available, which we got it. But we need to see how much water could be diverted for agriculture, for domestic, for industry, and for the environmental purpose. That's where we are introducing the integrated water sources management to support the Punjab Water Act as a part of that one. So as there is no information available for the sector, how much is the water used? So we are getting it water accounting on one net side, intervention, groundwater information, early drought warning system, and then going it integrated water source management where the irrigation demand management is coming, and that coming about the estimate water allocation system for agriculture, for domestic, for industry, and for the environmental purposes as a part of that one. Now these are playing important roles. So we have first thing is we went to the stakeholders and asking the industry what are the issues there. Also went to the municipal corporations, also to different sectors, understanding their needs and everything. And then we did it kind of the survey and also getting a position paper on water availability for multiple sectors in Okada district. How much is water used, but which are that, what's the percentage of that one? And then the next was that looking around the water account for industrial and domestic sectors, also accounting for that sort of information, which is based on the quantitative one. And for the agriculture sector, overall water availability, we have developed a SWOT plus hydrological model and also developing for the irrigation district. And that's giving us the information about that one, what's water availability, and then from all kind of sources there as a part of the system. So model has been calibrated at the headwaters of the above and that one, and then also at the other rivers, and that's what we are doing it as a part of that one. And that's giving us the information within that the node and what how much is the annual outflow of the Indus Basin and what we can do and how we could work together into then we crop into that one the irrigation district, which is the Kwara district, and saying it what's happening within the irrigation district. So we will account it as a part of the soil water content and everything as a part. Now, the important thing is next what we are doing it, we need to make sure that we are taking the government departments and doing them gender training and make sure that they understand the integrated water sources management, how that could be applied into the kind of context there. So doing the capacity building because the policies are blind. The policies are not talking anything about the gender. So we have built the manuals for the how we could do the gender inclusive. And when we talked with the irrigation department, they said, yes, we have the female, we have the water user association, but normally they are not a part of that one. But we want to make sure that going to those farmers and training them, even some of the farms where the only ladies are working it. So we are working with them and making sure that doing a capacity building of them at the national level, at the federal level and everything. Again, sharing some of the snapshot on gender equity and social inclusion activities as a part of one. But then the other important is how we could disseminate this information to the government. And then that's where we are developing the different kind of the working groups. Let's say we have done a training for the government. We asked the government, this training is useful, and the government said yes. And we said, can you provide your people from all across the Punjab province? And then we are providing the training, and then the government with their own funding, they are upscaling to the other districts. That's how we are working it together, the intervention which are successful. The World Bank and other departments, the other international donors are coming and they are picking up some of the intervention to upscale to the other district with the other funding there. And that's where it's important. The working groups are established, which are regularly working it. And at the government level, we have a steering committee chaired by the Punjab Planning and Development, the Chief Secretary, and that's how we are presenting and disseminating and everything is there. But another important thing is we don't want to hold it everything into the publication. Scientific publication is great, but that's only beneficial for IMI. We are quite active on that one, that the newspaper blogs, as well as the newspaper articles, and everything is there. We are doing it. The video package is coming, and that's a quite outreach is going on into the various digital and electronic media, and everything is there. And lastly, which we are doing it, why we are working together, we want to work it on that one, how we could implementation of Punjab Water Act, which is and Water Regulatory Authority, and doing a pilot. The agreement with the government is with the ministry and as well as the Punjab Irrigation Department is, if we are successful in one pilot area, the government will change their planning module and they will be replicating this methodology to the other districts. So that's how we are working it together. And so far in the last 2 years, we have made really good progress and we are working it together. And now we'll be working. The donors have come back to us. They said, this is really working very well in one province. Can we upscale to the other province? So that's how the IMI is working. With this one, I will be closing it here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohsin, for very, very insightful talk indeed. I really enjoyed and nice to see that IMI is working there, not only for scientific publication, but also trying to develop a product which government is willing to develop. That's really a good demonstration of the collaborative effort, in fact, science and policy and the implementation agency working together. With this now, the floor will be open for questions or maybe comments or any additional viewpoint on the theme we are talking today. Yes, Dr. Sandhu.
Thank you, Dr. Mohsin, for your wonderful presentation. Really nice to have you in person here in Nepal. Going through your presentation, more or less, it looks like the scenario looks like in Nepal and Pakistan are more similar. This guy is, you mentioned that the policies are good. They look good, but the implementation part is lacking, right? And all EV departments are working in silos, and then the main team implementation part is lacking. It's more or less in Nepal also the scenario is almost the same. So just I want to know whether the scenarios in the last decade or last year, in few years, is it the scenario is improving or it's still the same, like the scenario is still the same? And how do you think, what is your recommendation for like improving this scenario, like do the policies really going into the implementation?
Thank you. That's what as a part of the IMI strategy. Let me tell you, when I joined IMI in 2019, I went to each of the ministry in Pakistan and asked them what exactly they're saying. Each of the ministry was saying, we need this money, we need this money. Can IMI do this one? Can IMI do this one? Can IMI do this one? And I asked them about the policies. And the Ministry of Water Sources is saying, our policy is best, but we want to get working only with, you guys need to work only with us. Climate Change Ministry is also talking about the same one, the food security. No ministry is talking with each other. And then we thought, me as an international organization, what we need to do? We thought that we need to change our future direction. And as a part of future direction, one of the things is that whatever we are producing as a research outcome, how that it should not be, because IMI is good in publication and everything scientific, but we thought we need to change that one. The output need to translate into the outcome. And outcome will only happen that when we say, this is a step, because we have done 80% of the thing, but the problem is we are not able to communicate to the policy makers like you. And then the idea is that one, how we could convert that kind of the scientific output to the outcome, translating into the language to the ministry people understanding, so that they could implement and that we could support it. And that was helpful a lot for us in terms of two fronts. One was that because this was a niche area, no other international institute was looking. Everyone is working their project, they are working at the sort, but then there is long term, there is no impact, there is no sustainability. And second thing was that it was good, more beneficial for IMI as an organization, that people are saying that we are making a valuable contribution. So the scenario overall is, and when we started doing that work, that helped us a lot in that different other government departments come said, hey, we want to work with IMI. Can you help us? Like in case of Nepal, there are different districts, there are provincial administration there. In case of Pakistan, we have 4 provinces. And now we are working with every single provincial government. Everyone is coming to us, hey, this is something where we need to work. Can you help us? We have an act or we have a policy, but that need to be implemented. And that's the sort of the bridge which we are doing it, working together. This morning we were talking with the DG Sahab, and one of the things which we are working it that under Manohara leadership, how IWMI Nepal could support on the implementation of the irrigation policy which has been there. And one of the pilot district, one of the things which we can do it and really put all the effort there. So we could show an impact on the ground. And then that could be translated into the other areas and everything. So I think that's the area where there is personally as a scientist, I worked a lot in Australia. That's the only difference between the developed world and the developing world. In developed world, the policy is a strategic thing, but there is an actionable roadmap which need to be implemented, which are being implemented. But in the developing world, wherever I worked in 14, 15, that's one of the biggest barriers. There's nice policies, but hardly any implementation.
Thanks. Any other query, questions or inputs in discussion? Even for the participants who are joining virtually, if you would like to write down in chat box, that is also welcome. Or if you would like to speak out, just raise your hand and let us know. Any other questions, queries? While others are thinking, I had one comment, maybe it is interesting to see that the identifying groundwater hotspot using principal component analysis. So I believe that document is available online, or maybe it will be great if you can share with us. It will be helpful for us as well. Just maybe later on when you have access, you can send to us. That is good to see that. Yeah.
Sure. Just to give you that one, the reason why we use the principal component analysis back in Australia. When I was working for irrigation system, we have it was a Kolyamli irrigation system, which is around 80,000 hectare area. And they had it around 800 piezometer wells. And then they had it 4 people, which are running all around the year on a motorbike and going it from one area to the other area and monitoring and everything. And irrigation company, they said, we are not sure whether these people are actually going it on the ground and getting the data and all that one. What we can do it. And we said, okay, let's look around. We analyzed the last 20 or 15 years of data set and then figure out there was only 60 or 70 piezometer well, which were the critical piezometer well, which were where we see a lot of fluctuations of groundwater. And those fluctuations were covering around 80% of the water table fluctuation. We thought, okay, if we just monitoring on those 50, 60 the piezometer well, that will be really beneficial for us to monitor on that one. And then we stop worrying it around the remaining 740 piezometer well. That will so do a lot more saving in terms of the human manpower and everything. And then for those 80, for those 40 or 50, where we install the diver. And those divers started providing us a real-time information. So that was the thing which we thought. And now when we went into the Pakistan, it was the same. The government is saying to the contractor, the irrigation engineer is saying to the contractor, hey, we need to install the piezometer well. And contractor, they're saying where? And saying, you go and install it wherever you want. And the contractor, without any scientific thing, they want to go and they want to have their own peace of mind. They will install it near the irrigation canal, 10, 15 in a row, and then another place to make their life. But that's not based on a scientific thing. The critical areas, which are the hotspot areas, which are really missing it there, that's not. Now, what we did, we made it 6 by 6 kilometer grid. And in each grid, we started installing that one, the piezometer well, which was critical that then. But in addition, we also have the information about that grid, how many tubers are there. Now, theoretically, we have also monitoring the remote sensing. We have surface water, we have a groundwater. We could start monitoring if in that particularly grid of 6 by 6 kilometer, if the water table is fluctuating, if the groundwater is more usage, how to manage those sort of a thing. So that's where we are bringing that one, and I'm happy to share the paper with you.
Sure, that's good.
Thank you.
And then one more query from Madhav Galwasi, sir, who is from the secretary and also currently honorable member of the Public Service Commission. Question is, now Nepal is preparing for Irrigation Act. Do you have any suggestion on what we should not miss out there? Based on your experience there, at least that these things should not be missed out. If you can comment very quickly on that.
Yeah, I think that one, first thing is, I don't know about the Nepal, but then it's important that the irrigation, typically, we need to include the water for all, not only for irrigation, because the water need to be for agriculture, for domestic, for environmental, and as well as on irrigation and the agriculture. That's important, because many of the, if you go back 10 years ago in Pakistan, there was the Irrigation Act, but Irrigation Act was only focusing it only as a part of that one irrigation user. But now due to that one, the climate change and many things, there is much more need of water allocation for multiple sectors. That need to be incorporated there. And second thing is that need to be the actionable roadmap that need to be there as a part of that one. How we are going to implement on that one, because act is really good, but what are the footprint, what are the steps that need to be implemented on the ground to make sure that this act is successful?
Right, thank you. We have a separate Water Resources Act also. The Irrigation Act is a separate one. We just update to maybe share that. But it's good to see that at least we should not focus only on irrigation, but multiple use should be equally prioritized. And the second point you mentioned is about
Actionable roadmap.
actionable roadmap. That's really great. Any other questions or discussion points from any of the participants? Yes. You can answer, please.
Yes, sorry, I missed some part of your presentation, but I usually in Nepal, when we talk about climate change, everyone mostly discuss about this Indus Himalayan region or the snow or some other flood, drought, and many things. But one of the area I think which is not given much priority is the livelihood of the people. Considering the irrigation systems that we have. Irrigation system in Nepal are mostly farmers managed irrigation systems, a very small size and mostly dependent on the spring or the small sources where the impact of climate change has been visible, and then which has directly impacted on the livelihood of the people at the same time. So I just wanted to, I was reviewing some of the farmers managed irrigation system in some of the regions. Recently, I came up some ideas in the Bhutan as well, where they have a good number of farmers managed irrigation systems, and they are now focusing on the impact on the livelihood on this by the impact of the climate. What is the? I just wanted to know about the status of Pakistan. What kind of irrigation systems Pakistan has, and how they are dealing with this climate component.
Okay, yeah, there are two aspects of that. One is about the irrigation system, which is properly built by the irrigation department, built particularly by the British. That's the Indus Basin irrigation system. But many upper part of the Pakistan, in the northern area, or even in upper part of Pakistan, there are many farmers have built the small reservoirs, small ponds, which they are using it for that one, the water storage. Okay, and then they are using it for irrigation. Those are managed by the farmers, and everything is there. As we are talking about the climate change, okay, and even further down in the Balochistan area, which is not a part of Indus Basin, there are the many areas where the farmers have managing their own irrigation system, and we are talking about the livelihood, everything remains same. Therefore, it's important that when we are talking about climate change, one of the things is that when the government started a subsidy, the government is saying to improve that when the farmer's irrigation system or farmer build, will be paying it 80% of that on the funds for building a small water storage. The farmers, they could store the water and then they could use that water all around the year. They are not relying on irrigation, rainfall, but they could do it. But problem happened that many of the farmers, they build those ones because the farmers need to still contribute 20% of the water, 20% of the funds, either in kind or cash for the building that the reservoir. But then those reservoirs was built after 1 year, there was a collapse. because there was no much water was available in that the pond or in that the small storage. And then the farmers got discouraged, saying it what we can do it. The problem was there that the small ponds or storage was not built based on the hydrological science or based on the climate change projection. Because if I'm a farmer, I am worrying only about my own farm, and I will say this is the land owned by me, and I will say, okay, I need to commit 20% of that one. The money, either in kind or something, I will say I want to build a pond here, which is good based on the 1 or 2 years knowledge. But for hydrological, you need to have a climate change understanding. You need to have 3 decades of the information hydrology. And then that will pinpoint you whether that a kind of that one, the pond need to be built here, a pond need to be built into that one. And maybe pond could be owned by the 3 or 4 farmers or 5 farmers who are jointly owning and that sort of thing, because that need to be built where there is a naturally water is coming over a longer period of time. And that sort of the learning from the Pakistan is very important when we are talking about the small scale farming and then small scale especially in the hilly terrain. We need to pinpoint that area where it is built on the which is a natural way of that one building the farmers irrigation system. Even my experience in Burkina Faso and Ghana in Africa, it's also showing it the same thing when we are talking about the farmers-led irrigation system. Then that's important that how that the irrigation department here, the local government could provide a support to all the farmers, because putting a kind of the platform as a water user association or something, at least guiding them where to build that small storage or small ponds or anything on that one, so that that's coming over, because farmers don't have that kind of knowledge. And you are guiding them to build that one, and that's incorporating the climate already, the climate resilience as a part of the system.
Great. There's one more query in the chat box from the online participant from Vishnu sir. Soil moisture sensor based irrigation scheduling in South Asia, where even we don't have the practice of measuring irrigation supply. And to aid on that, like you also mentioned in your presentation, water allocation system that Pakistan has developed with the integration of multiple things. To what extent is it working? If it is working, what make it work? I was just linking 2 things together.
Okay, so first part is, let me go on the water allocation system. Water allocation system, if you ask me, only it works for the surface water. There is a surface water because the irrigation department has established a well monitoring information system. They accounted how much water diversion is happening, and that's excellent. But then the pitfall of that one is the groundwater, there is hardly any information there. And then when the groundwater it's a guesstimate available there. Now with that one, we are developing for a pilot district surface water plus groundwater and coupling it together there. Irrigation department has got the first time the information, and then that sort of information they're going to use it for their policy decision making to divert water, whether they need to stop the irrigation diversion water and then provide a more groundwater, or the other way around, how to manage the water for the various sectors and everything. That's why it is important. So it's in a testing stage. Our surface water allocation system is working excellent in part of Pakistan. But now when there is no groundwater allocation system, farmers are installing as many as pump and they're extracting as much as water. And that has created a kind of imbalance for the groundwater because recharge is not there. The government is quite keen to have a comprehensive surface groundwater and rainwater system as a source. So that's what we are helping the government developing for the one of the pilot district and then upscaling to the other district. Now coming on soil master. Yes, in considering that one the part of the South Asia, I don't know about Nepal, but in other part it's a Barabandi system. What that means, you don't have a supply driven, it's a supply driven system, and you're getting the water after 7 days on a fixed time, and you're getting that amount of water. And what that means, that that system is there, farmers want to do it as much as water applied whenever the water is available, whether water is needed or not. Farmers want to apply that water and doing it as much as want to do. What we are saying is the soil moisture sensors could guide the farmers about their need of water so that they will not irrigate. But at the same time, just to make sure that the farmers will have a surplus water, we are educating, and along with the government of Pakistan Agriculture Emergency Program is farmer need to build a small storage at his farm. One canal, which is a 1/8 of the acre, small storage at the local farm where he's storing the rainwater, where he's storing the surplus of irrigation water, and also that supplementing that when the groundwater recharge. So in that way, he is not wasting the water, but that's what could be do, but that needs a much more wider adoption, much more that when the awareness to the agriculture department and as well as to the farmers. That's what we have installed 200 soil master sensors and getting a mixed kind of response. Farmers understand it, but some farmers are adopting, some farmers are still using it, but they are not practically using it for decision making. So that's why it's a much more effort is needed.
That's great. So technical system combined with the regular awareness program makes the things work happen. All right, I think we have 5 minutes left, but there's one more query. Let's take that one, then we'll pass to our president for the closing. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Our irrigation profession has not been a preference for many young people at the international level. Although its importance has increased to feed the world. How to enhance the capacity and attract the young professionals in research? What is the practice in Pakistan?
I think I will not talk about the practice in Pakistan, but globally. The problem is that the irrigation department or the irrigation engineers are typically focused on that one. In past, we had plenty of funds, we have plenty of the things. These problems were very simple. But now there is a much more that on the, especially the artificial intelligence, the electrical gadgets and all those sort of things, the instrumentation, real-time flow monitoring, flow management and everything that bring the multidisciplinary approach there. So the thing is that when we need to be diversifying those areas, that there is an electrical engineer, that when the multidisciplinary economist, gender expert, and how we could work as that one multidisciplinary team who's addressing and then developing some of the innovative solutions there. Coming back to that one, why people are not, that they interested, at least in part of this, the Pakistan, one of the dilemma which we are still facing is that there is a debate still going on. The civil engineers are only suitable for irrigation discipline, which is fundamentally not anymore validated. That need to be multidisciplinary people need to come and contribute, and everything is there. If I compare with the developing world, like in Australia and USA and everything, as there are people on social sciences, they are talking about the social aspect of irrigation. There are people from the gender aspect. Everyone people is coming. The problem in our part of the world is we are focusing the irrigation only on biophysical things. It is not talking about the water for multiple sectors and everything. If we do it with more open, then that's where we are able to basically motivate the new people and saying it, this is a quite wider area, and then the people need to come and contribute. It's not focusing only biophysical thing. It need to link up with the people, with the society, and as well as with the technology available.
That's great. Thank you, Dr. Mohsin. Really insightful talk, and we really appreciate your global learning synthesized in 30-40 minutes time for our benefit. We really appreciate it. Let's give a big round of applause. With this, we are almost at the end of the session. So now I would like to request President of NENCID and the Director General of the Department of Water Resources and Irrigation, Mr. Sandeep Rao, to close the session with the remark. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sir. First of all, I would like to thank Mohsin Hafeez for this presentation, for a valuable time. Actually, this presentation and discussion is quite interesting and very helpful for us. You have highlighted a lot of aspects of irrigation water management for agriculture. Thank you for visiting us this morning. Also, we talk about the implementation of the policy, and you have highlighted here also the policy is a good policy is drafted, but if it is not implemented well, then it will not be useful. So we talk about like how to make action plans of the existing policy and implement in the days to come. So that is very important. And you have highlighted the water for all, like between different sector, we need to see the water resources availability and use. For this we have Water Resource Act to prioritize the water use and see overall aspects. But at least our department is Department of Water Resource and Irrigation. So we see the water resource conservation and management aspect as well as irrigation. And at the same time, we have been working in water-induced disaster management. So we have been engaging with a little wider sector of water resources management. So that is again very nice. And if we see you have you said right the gender equality and social inclusion aspect is not in the policy in the Pakistan, but you have developed separate to implement that aspect. But our policy is quite progressive, or it has covered the gender aspects, and we have been actively engaging on this aspect also. The you you shared about the soil moisture sensors. So I'm not sure like the level education of the farmers or its applicability based on the their capacity to use. But it is quite important to manage the available water resources for the irrigation. Thank you so much for your presentation. And I would like to thank all the participants, all our honorable member of Public Service Commission is also here. So thank you, sir, for joining. After I joined as Director General, I became first like President of the NENCID. This is our first program. So thank you for your like support, Chikaji, Ankaji, and all worked hard. Since worked hard to bring this job program, and I'm sure in the coming days we will organize these kind of discussions and continue these discussions in the days to come. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for everyone to be here, especially when it is a public holiday. I highly appreciate your support and everything. Just Sanjeev, one thing on the farmer are some are educated, some are not basically illiterate in Pakistan. That's why we are using this kind of soil moisture, because it's not, farmers are not worrying about the science. It's showing that like a traffic light diagram, the red means that you need to worry about that one. You must irrigate. If you will not irrigate, then something will happen. And then the green mean is plenty of water, and blue mean is that one you need to start doing on that one. That sort of soil moisture sensors has been developed by Australia. And to overcome of the issue what you have mentioned about the farmers' education, now while working with the farmers, so we need to still educate them how that's beneficial, because when we approach first to the farmer, he's saying, I'm not educated. I don't want to use it. I'm worried about science. I'm saying science is important, but you start using it, start using your own practices and see how whether that's beneficial. That kind of the awareness is very important. Thank you very much.
Can we take a photographs and then we'll discuss. Outside. Okay.
Thank you.
Maximum.